Hi, I'm Nate Wakeford, your masculinity and mindset coach. Today I'm going to be talking about the importance of clearing, and with respect to clearing emotional trauma that you store in your body, in the energetics of your field, and this includes trapped emotions. So recently I began a clearing process that is based on spiritual technologies from the Kogi tribe of Colombia. So I had the Kogi come and visit my land project that I have here in Tulum, and I also met a bridge, or a cultural bridge ambassador for the Kogi who came to stay with me as well. And she introduced me to some of these technologies that help to clear accumulated trauma and emotions from your life events and experiences. And whilst I was quite aware of this, because I work a lot in the energetic realm and I work a lot in helping to resolve trauma and childhood trauma, family traumas, things like that, it's really taken me to a new level of and depth of awareness and understanding of this realm. Essentially, every single life and event, every single experience that in some way made a impression upon you in a traumatic way, in an emotional way, begins to accumulate as if like a residual from every one of those events starts to stock up and be stored in your energetic field and in your body. The implications of that is that as we begin to carry that burden, that weight, that emotional weight, the weight of that trauma into our life events and circumstances, it colors our perception and it colors our experience, because perception influences your expression and your expression is your experience. So when you're carrying these traumas and you're accumulating these traumas from life events and circumstances, it influences the outcomes of your life. It influences your experiences. It influences the meaning you give to life experiences. It influences your level of fulfillment and ultimately your level of success. So what I have come into the awareness of is that a series of life events and circumstances that, whilst day to day I'm a very regulated, harmonious, centered guy, I recognize now that I was carrying this accumulation of, let's just say, heavy energies, including shame, including sadness, that related to life events and circumstances where I didn't live up to the expectations that I'd set for myself, or that I perceived had been placed on myself by others. And so I have begun that clearing process, and it's been already hugely transformative. I'm only into day 2. But it also, because of the work that I do, brought me into the awareness of the initial origins of where I made decisions to perhaps not live up to expectations, or made the decision that I wasn't living up to others' expectations. And this came to my childhood, because I was a high achiever, and even if I got, an A or a B, I really wanted A pluses, or I really didn't want to have Bs at all. And I felt, perhaps by my own, lack of full awareness of the situation, because I was a young boy, that my love and appreciation from my parents was conditional based on my performance and living up to those expectations. And so what that resulted in is a certain shaming of self whenever I perceived I didn't live up to the expectations that were set for me. And then that transferred to me shaming myself for when I didn't live up to my own expectations, and that carried through in life. Now, the impression that makes over time is a conditioned behavior of carrying forward these emotions almost as a punishment for what, in this case, what I failed to achieve, or what I failed to live up to the expectations of. And the unfortunate part is that if that cycle isn't broken, if the pattern isn't interrupted, then we go through life creating these repeating cycles that ultimately have us fall short of what we're capable of and accrue these emotional baggages that prevent the fullest joy and your highest level of success. So the process has been quite simple. It's involved, I won't give you all the details because I don't think it's appropriate for me to share, but what I will say is it requires me to retrace every life event and every life experience that has made an impression on me. And this is with romantic partners, this is with decisions and events, with projects, with things that didn't go through, that weren't successful, judgments I placed on myself, things like that. And to then clear that energy, to then release the emotions and the judgments of self and the traumas associated with those life events and experiences. Now, traditionally, in the work that I do, it's very surgical. I do the same thing, but it's been a specific life event and experience where there was a significant trauma or similar that a person made a decision that was then limiting in their life. What I'm referring to is a more general sense, because there are so many life events and experiences that maybe weren't massively traumatic, but which accumulated to the weight. It's like the straw that breaks the camel's back. And those life events, each time you have a fight, for instance, with a partner, each time you might lose something or lose money, or a business deal doesn't fall through or something like that, each time that you don't keep an agreement with yourself, over time, those small events start to accumulate. And I believe that's what leads to, in part, a sense of overwhelm. When these accumulated life events and circumstances that all have an emotional connection of some sort of heaviness, they become the straw that breaks the camel's back, so to speak, where you start to feel overwhelmed because you're carrying all these emotional baggages that need to be released. They need to be cleared. And what's interesting is this translates to an awareness that each time we enter a new relationship, we often carry all these traumas and events and experiences from our prior life experiences. And that frames the relationship in these traumas, because you carry, as I said before, this projection of this coloring from your previous life events and experiences that were traumatic, that they could happen in this current context. And so it becomes a limiting experience by default. Whereas if you do the clearing prior to entering a relationship, prior to entering the business partnership, by entering in some other context where it requires you to be make an agreement with someone, in addition to things like marriages, that if you do the clearing prior, then you become a clean slate and you massively increase the probability or possibility of a thriving and harmonious connection with that person, and also interrupting any patterns that you would otherwise repeat in the context of this new relationship. So in addition to the surgical approach to changing the big life events and experiences, I'm now recognizing the necessity for this ongoing maintenance. It's like a detox, an emotional detox of the accumulation of life events and circumstances that led to heavy emotions accruing in your body, in your energetic field, in your state of mind, that are now impeding on your thriving and progress in life. And if what I'm sharing with you resonates, then I encourage you to begin the process of clearing, to begin the process of unraveling and removing the stacked emotions that have built up on top of each other, and starting this clearing process and having a formal approach to doing so. If you'd like help with that, please reach out to me. My details are in the information below this video. And you can also join the Sovereign Brotherhood. I have numerous clearing exercises free inside our community. And potentially, if you're someone who wants to accelerate your life trajectory, if you'd like to engage me as a one-to-one coach, then again, reach out to me and I'll do my best to support you if we're a fit. Thanks so much for watching this video. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.